Hey, boy.
We'll get started.
Yeah.
Cheers again
Cheers.
to another
Cheers.
episode.
No coffee today.
No coffee today.
No, it's an
Back
evening
to
podcast
evening
once
coffee.
again. Back to the booze.
I kind of enjoyed a morning podcast as well. I felt like I was more awake and aware.
Yeah, we had a different energy level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
was
the
a little-
coffee.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's
the
the
coffee.
Not the whiskey that's like mellowing us down a little
It's
bit.
true. Actually, as the podcast goes deeper and deeper, and the more of this we consume, the more wild and kind of sleepy the podcast gets.
Yeah.
A little bit of slurring in the
Yeah,
voices.
A reason to stick till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast of Car Talk. In this one, we're going to talk about manual versus auto. Which is better?
Oh.
I've got my vote.
So, in this one, we've got our usual suspect, Lukasz Nowacki here as well, aka Dubcest. And we don't have Eric. He's slacking on this episode, unfortunately.
The dedication is just not there.
You get him back.
I get it back.
There you go, Eric. I'm sorry, man. We had to do it. And we also got Marc-Andre again. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast episode as well. You're very animated about the manual versus auto topic. So I thought it was fitting to have you on.
Well, I'm honored to be here for a first time,
Yeah.
and I think the topic is extremely fitting, and looking forward to dive into it.
Yep.
Maybe before we dive into it, he can give us a little bit of background on what he does or where, because his perspective is going to be skewed depending on that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, for sure.
give us your bio in 30 seconds.
So, I mean, I've been a car guy for all my life. I grew up through the car scene, organizing car shows, and did my thing of driving different cars. In 2007, I discovered track driving and performance driving, and since then, I've raced a lot. I've pretty much instructed and driven any car you can think about or something close to it.
Front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive.
Exotics, Italians, Europeans, whatever, Honda Civics, you name it. I've if I haven't driven it, I've at least been in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
So I've had the fortunate or the luck to get to try a lot of different cars and properly. By properly is on a closed circuit at the limits and really see what it could do. So
Yeah, that's truly when you understand what the cars can do, right? Street driving is great, but you can't really push it to its limit without getting into a lot of trouble.
correct.
You're also the person that got me hooked into tracking as well. I
Sorry.
knew nothing.
Apologies.
No, you got to say sorry to Kim because our bank account has been shrinking.
It's quite the expensive hobby.
I know.
But worth it.
Well, thankfully, I was not an extreme driver like Marc-Andre where I was chewing through brakes and tires.
Yeah.
So my brakes and tires will last a season. He'll go on for a session and the tires are done.
Oops.
I remember when we got on with my Audi S5, the B8, all-wheel drive, understeering monster with manual.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that was a manual?
yeah, it was. I was manual up until that point.
Yeah.
When I had to trade up the S5.
Yeah.
But at the end, we came back and the brakes were just smoking because it's never been driven like that before. And I'm like, oh shit, is it broken?
Well, even if it was driven like that in the past, it probably would have done the same thing.
I have to tell a story on that actually.
Oh,
So, completely off topic, but I think it's going to be worth it. So this weekend we just competed in an endurance race at Shannonville Motorsport Park, and the team that was next to us looked like a bunch of new people, and they showed up with this Audi TT. This is like amateur racing, lucky dog. Like, you're right with the cheapest thing possible.
Yeah.
Beautifully new built Audi TT on air jacks, everything just
Oh, wow.
crazy. And the money these guys put in these cars was insane. And on the last pit stop, they jack the car up, go to change the tires, so they take the tires off, and the brakes are smoking. Completely normal in a race. Their reaction was to proceed with their fire extinguishers and put that out.
No.
Oh yeah, I wish we would have filmed that.
damn. It's on fire.
Like, who does that?
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny because I think last time we had brakes on fire, we were at a BMW event at iCar, and I forget his name. He's the gentleman who did the world record for the longest drift for BMW M in the M5, where they had to refuel the car mid-drift with another M5.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
I think he's Swedish or something. Anyways, so we were doing hot laps at the end of the event, and it was an M5 comp with carbon ceramics, and hot lap after hot lap, he'd pull in, someone else would get inside, and we'd do another lap. And he pulls in, and the rotor is like red. The pad's on fire. There's a flame like coming out from the pad, and he's just like, "I'll be back. I'm just gonna do a cool down lap."
Yeah.
He just drove the car around the track.
Yep.
Came back, took another passenger, and beat on the car again.
Yeah. I think that's one thing you've always kind of reminded me of as well, and people forget to do this. After a hot lap, always do a cool down
lap. Yeah.
Just to let the internals come back down to its normal temperature. Let the air do the work.
Yeah.
yep.
As opposed to
not the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, if in this case, if he wasn't panicking, it's because if a small fire's on the brake like that, most of the time it'll be like a chunk of tire, or something that will go onto it, and then that's what you see smoking.
Yeah.
But and on that too, don't slow down on the track.
No.
This is what a lot of people do. It's like the paddock is there.
Yeah.
Get it off the track. Don't cause traffic on the track and slow down. Just go off the track.
Yeah.
Go through the paddock and just cool the car down, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be doing like circles around in the paddock, and people are looking at me. What the hell are you doing? I'm
Cooling my brakes.
But thank you for coming on as well. So it's really good to have your perspective as well. So topic in hand: manual versus automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is better?
Well, I'm waiting for the PowerPoint presentation to go up here.
No. This is opinions first. The PowerPoint presentation or like the board.
So opinions are just, you want like a one-word answer, like what we choose.
Let's debate it, and then.
Well, we can choose what we prefer, and then explain and debate after that. Maybe.
That's
like
exactly
that.
it.
Yeah,
I like that.
And then when we get to the board, we'll have the best manuals, the best autos, and so on. So in terms of which is better, would you say manuals are a dying breed?
Yes.
Are we just doing one word answers now?
Well, no.
I was waiting for you to chime in.
I think they are a dying breed, but I think I prefer a manual.
Yeah.
So I choose manual, but they are a dying breed.
I was just going to say, it's obvious technology is changing from a performance standpoint. There's a lot of benefits to a proper auto. But there's a sense for the nostalgic or the visceral driving experience with the manual. And I think we are going to see it more and more. We're going to see it more and more rare. Will we see it die? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to become more and more rare.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I like to think it's not a dying breed. And you'll see a trend with a lot of manufacturers now bringing a lot of entry-level sports cars that are enthusiast-centric with manuals as well. We can kind of cover that in the list of cars as well, like Toyota GR86, Corolla GR86. I mean, Toyota's got 3 sports cars that's all manual.
And I think they have a new sports car launching. I think it was an advertisement for it wasn't the new Supra. It was a whole new chassis, like a new car. It had like similar headlights, but it was wider, more linear, more flat.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping track.
Rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do know they did some good changes to the GR86, so some needed power there, but yeah. Oh, so we're jumping into this already.
No. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Okay.
We want to finish our opinions first.
So in terms of manual cars, I can count on one hand the amount of automakers that have performance sports cars available in manual now, which wasn't the case 15 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
For the longest time, Europe was very manual centric. Right?
It was only manual.
Yeah.
If you were going to Europe and you're renting a car and you didn't know what a clutch was, you're screwed. That's it. You can't drive in Europe. Everything was basically manual.
And in that time, it was the opposite in the North America, where we had automatics all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And we would just crave after the manual. Even if I could rent a manual car, I would take that over an automatic.
True.
But now it's the tables have turned a little bit. I think the American manufacturers are bringing that focus back to manual transmissions again, and the European market, they don't really care about manuals as much anymore.
Might just be trying to catch up to convenience because they've been doing it a certain way for so long. I mean, I just came back from a trip in February to south of France and remember renting a car, and it was actually manual. I didn't actually check what it was, and I got there. And
what was it?
Oh my God.
Renault?
Something from Ford that we don't have here.
Ford Escort?
No, I don't know.
Mondeo.
Maybe.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Maybe.
So I
didn't look when I rented. I just get in the car and was like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a third pedal.
What a pleasant surprise.
Yep. But a lot of it, I think, too, is I don't think it was, if you're going back, a real option. If you go back 10, 20 years, and you looked at the automatic transmissions we had then in the technology, and it wasn't there.
No.
I mean, I still remember and have a lot of experience driving stuff like Ferraris, F430s, or Gallardos on track. And even those were the first attempts at
an F1 transmission.
Yeah, like it was a single clutch kind of system, very, delayed, harsh. Like it was visceral, but it's just not functional.
But those were an automated manual. They were not necessarily an automatic.
Yeah, but there's still no clutch. They still operate the same way. I mean, you could even debate, for example, we've got a Radical SR3, so Hayabusa engine, full race car, prototype, like open cockpit style. And the transmission is the manual transmission for the motorcycle. But then there's a pneumatic or shifter to it. So you can get a clutch on it, which you still have to use it to get in first gear. Then you forget about it. Or you can get what's called a recluse clutch. Then there's a clutch pedal, but it's really useless. So there's a lot of different things. And I guess it's important to identify or determine what we would classify as an automatic.
So then maybe I'll ask a question as well. If you were to go spend your hard-earned money on a sports car, would you option it with a manual or an automatic?
That's a hard question because, again, what are you doing with the car?
Well, that's exactly it.
That's another factor. If I was street driving this car, I would get a manual.
Yeah.
If I was tracking the car, I'd get an automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, you can go even deeper than that. If you're, getting a performance car, you're driving on the road, but maybe you'll be commuting with it, be stuck in traffic. Maybe go with the auto. If it's a pure enjoyment car, weekend cruise, drive along the ocean side or something like that, then I think definitely the manual. But I think it's depending on the use again. It could be one or the other.
I have friends in Toronto who, one friend in particular, he bought a GT, a Spider, and he bought it in PDK. And I was like, why did you buy a PDK Spider? Like it's Spider, open top, like it's almost meant to like roll through gears. Yeah. But he lives in Toronto. He commutes down through the city, and there's traffic. Like Toronto's traffic, it's consistent traffic. So it's not fun just
living there. Yeah.
clutching in, clutching out in first gear all the time. And the PDK is a great transmission. The car does actually. I think the gearing is even better in the PDK than it is on the manual. Not by much, but it is better in that platform. So it makes sense, right? So when the car is still a great car, the transmission is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's the same thing, but I still itch for a manual. Like I've had the PDK and automatic cars and all that. And for my early stages of my car ownership, I've always just owned a manual. And it was always because the one car that did it all for me. I didn't have a summer car then, so I'd always have a manual. And now that I don't have a manual, I miss it.
Yeah.
And I want to roll through the gears just as much as I care about performance and all of that.
You're getting a manual though.
Oh, well,
it's coming. It's been shipped.
This is part of the itch that makes me spend more money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how often have we had conversations when you're looking at getting a new car? Auto, manual, auto.
And you would always sway me towards an auto.
I mean, yes.
Depends on the auto.
And then there's me, manual.
the good and the bad.
Yeah. I mean, but I have to say, like, I'm biased. For me, it's I've kind of gone past the phase of just street cars. To be honest, I mean, I drive a beautiful Ram 2500 on the road right now.
Perfect.
For functionality, obviously, I've got a lot of stuff to pull, but you know, I'm on racetracks pretty much every weekend, and I've become very biased to the performance. For me, it's all about being connected to the machine and getting the maximum out of it. And with the automatic, there's so many reasons why it's just so much better. I mean, there's a reason why F1 cars are, you know, paddle shift and sequential with the paddle. So
from a performance standpoint,
it's all performance standpoint.
I agree, 100%.
So, I mean, for me at least, it was, you know, I'm going back to my track experience. What made me fall in love with the automatic, and everything I've ever driven was manual. And one day, I was actually coaching a friend of Larry O'Brien, so the old mayor of Ottawa, and he shows up in a Cayman GTS, and you know. It was PDK, first time in a PDK, and had a great time with the gentleman all day. And at the end of the day, he goes, Marc-Andre, I want to see what you can do. So bring him a ride with my car, and it was a S2000 at the time, great ride. And he was really impressed. So he's like, no, now I need you to drive my car. And I remember going out on track, and I was okay with the paddle shift because I was driving it on the sim, so it wasn't like it was strange. And I remember just coming out pit lane, taking turn 1, approaching turn 2, and just starting to go through the downshift and hearing the pops and the sound of that transmission, perfect rev match, echoing on the concrete wall of Calvo. And then it was just like being able to hammer the car, left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas, just getting the maximum out of the car. And
he's a Misha driver.
Yeah.
So I got out of the car and I was like, yeah, I'm sold. And then from there, I ended up getting a BMW 135 with a DCT 7-speed, absolute rocket of a car for the road.
Tail happy car, that one.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And yeah, I mean, I've just been enjoying it. But nowadays, everything I'm accustomed to, even on the sim when I'm training, everything nowadays is paddle shift. And I mean, I'm someone that can, you know, heel and toe to perfection. Where even cornering, I can heel and toe. And as I'm finishing my braking, slide the left foot over and then finish my brake release. I can do all the advanced stuff.
It's just not as effective as obviously a good automatic transmission, right?
Well, you're faster with left foot braking now.
100%.
Well, it's because, you know, you have to understand that you can be as good as you want with heel and toe, but every time that you're going to be blipping the gas, you're creating a change with the brake pressure, which essentially is impacting your weight.
You're shifting the weight, yeah.
You can't brake as deep as if you're on the left foot on the brake, or even right foot on the brake, but just staying on consistently, and not having to worry about your downshifts because the rev match and everything's great. So you can brake so much deeper, control of the car, the weight of the car much better, which is going to give you better cornering. It's to the point where, so I was, oddly enough, a technical director for a racing series last year that I had my cars racing in, which are automatic. And we had competitors that were manual with the same cars. And their gearing was better, so you could see better acceleration. But so by technical director, I have access to all the data, and I have to look at all the data to make sure everybody's not cheating. So if I look at the data of the manual transmission, it was actually accelerating better. But then you look at everywhere that you have to apply a good amount of braking, we were gaining 0.2 every time. And I'm a huge advocate for automatic, but I was shocked. I was actually shocked at how much it was. So the gain in performance is absolutely there.
Yeah. And on track, I think your mind also focuses on what it's on other things, because you don't have to focus on the heel toe, you know, the clutch, the gearbox. You focus more on the track and the braking, right?
I mean, if you look at a lot of the modern manuals now, they auto blip. It's almost like you don't have to think about that.
That's true.
And it's pretty effective as well. You kind of you take away a lot of the negatives of shifting mid corner with that auto blip.
Yep.
But then
see, that's another topic now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a pure automatic guy. I will choose a proper auto over a manual.
Yeah.
But there's something wrong with that auto blip. If you're driving a manual, learn the heel and toe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird concept.
So I think it's in between your automatic PDK, like fast auto, and a manual. They're giving that accessibility, taking away that one disadvantage that manuals have on track and high performance driving. Yet I agree, it's still not as fast as a PDK or an auto through the corners. But it's a good option to have, I would say.
Well, it's a button, right? So you can turn it off on demand. It's not, you don't have to have it engaged, but most new cars do have it as an option.
Oh, so then to your point as well, if you use that button for auto blip, does that make you less of a driver?
100%.
I mean,
No, I'm just-
but I mean, I think it does. No, I think it does. But it's important to understand that heel and toe is probably one of the most challenging things to master.
it is. It's tricky.
And there's nothing wrong with having that as an aid to learn the proper braking and timing of a downshift. And then once you're ready to turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to use it as a crutch to never cross over into learning the heel and toe, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but also heel and toe is like it's different in every car because every car has different placement, different pressure points. Sometimes so like you learn on one car, you have it perfected. You know the feedback of the pedal and like how far the brake or the gas goes, and then you have it mastered. You get a new car, and it's like you're learning all over again.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I mean, on that, like, again, having gone from track days, well, I'll drive 5 different manuals on one day. You get to a certain point where you've driven so many that you can actually be pretty good like out of the gate, but I definitely get the feeling.
Yeah.
The other thing too is with some manuals, the manufacturers really didn't think about heel and toe in this kind of driving technique.
Yeah.
Spacing is weird either from side to side or from like depth. So as you're pressing the brake, your gas pedal's still way up here. Nothing wrong with, adjusting your pedals. We're putting some aftermarket pedals adjustments or doing something so that you're more comfortable to do it. But I think it's visceral to be able to do heel and toe. It's
when
so
you
cool.
get it right, it's such a good feeling.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
I remember like in my Z4M, it was obviously like a non-button activated rev match car. So when you like nailed a downshift, you were like, it felt so good, right? Yeah.
So wait, how many clutches did you guys destroy to master?
I've never. So I was a late bloomer a little bit. I always wanted a manual. I never had a manual until I was like late 20s.
And what was the first manual you drove?
Volvo.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Audi.
No.
Oh,
I drove an.
Not as interesting.
I kind of learned on an R8, but
see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he definitely has me beat even with the Volvo.
But I had a Volvo. I forget what it was. What it was. It was like the boxy 4-door, larger
XC90.
No. It's a car. It was a car.
Oh no, something.
I know exactly which car you're talking about. Like I can envision it.
S600 something. I don't know. It was a Volvo 4-door.
SC60.
Something like that.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your first manual?
A Hyundai Tiburon.
I still have you beat.
Cavalier.
Dodge Colt.
Oh.
That was my first car.
Wow.
Interesting.
Manual.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put that up after.
Eric would have been here boasting about his manual
I know.
Ford Escort with dual exhaust.
He's ancient.
Yeah.
He goes way back with
Yeah.
his car collection. Wow, Dodge Colt. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So at that time, funny story. So my dad was a car salesman. This was my first car. So I gave him, my hard
Earned
money. And so he goes to the auction. I'm like, give me a Honda Civic. Give me 89 like Honda
He comes
Civic.
back with the Dodge Colt.
So he comes back and he's all happiness. I got you something. I show up and it's like,
Not what I asked for.
not the same. Not the same.
Did he put a Honda badge on it? Or?
No.
Was it the same color at least?
Yes. It was white.
There you go.
Okay.
It's about the only thing we got right.
Championship white.
There you go. Oh man, I missed that though, and I think going back to the auto blipping thing, it also addresses the traffic situation. Makes it easier for you to drive a manual in a traffic situation. But I agree, in today's age, not a lot of people even look at manuals.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. The new era or the new generation of youngsters that are coming into buying a car, learning to drive a car.
But there's still a demand because you see, like, I think the two most common kind of high-end performance cars that are for sale are Porsche and BMW still offer manual transmissions in both their cars.
But
so the sales must be high enough for them to do it, right?
Mainly in the US.
Yeah.
But a lot of the clientele are more of the mature crowd too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll always be a market for it, though.
Yeah.
I think it's coming back. I think there's a wave where it was a big lull, But now I think people are starting to realize, okay, there is something cool about driving once all
But
of the
again,
EV
even
stuff-
for street use, like we're making it seem like manuals are, you want a manual for the street and you want a dual clutch for the track. But if you drive a good dual clutch, it's pretty satisfying on the street. I can't say it's bad. It still fills all those like check boxes.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes you lack the physical movement of the clutch and the gear selector,
See,
right? Like
my left leg is smaller than my right leg now. Ever since I
it
stopped
shrunk,
using
or
the
what did you do to your leg?
I don't work it out anymore.
Okay.
I missed the clutch. So I'd agree with that as well. And I think you told me something that really changed the way I drive my PDK as well. So going from a manual to a PDK, I always miss that engagement of, thinking about, okay, I'm going to use my hand, I'm going to shift a gear, but I have to clutch in, I have to properly get out. So at the low RPMs or like low speeds, I'm engaged still.
Yes.
In a PDK,
You're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a PDK, it's you're disconnected until you get to the high end. But the thing that you told me that I started doing now was using the shifter lever to like do a sequential gear shift, zoom, 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 down, 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 and that kind of addresses the manual situation.
Yeah, I can. I think that even there, though, it's even more limited. Like so many manufacturers, especially when they first started to do those transmission, got in reverse, where the upshift was up, and then that was just so wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, even thinking about Porsche, some of their first PDKs or auto shifting transmission, it was the buttons on each side, and like push was one way, and then
that was brutal.
Yeah,
what was that?
What were you thinking?
but that was back in the Tiptronic days, I think, right?
Before PDK. PDK sorted that.
That was
out.
Tiptronic.
Yeah.
Well, so what's the real motorsport way is down for shift up.
Yes.
And then push up.
Yes. You're
for
just
downshift.
tapping to downshift. But it's funny that you said, like, going back to your smaller left leg. If you're driving something that's like PDK or dual clutch, the proper way to drive it is your left foot on the brake. I actually probably have a stronger left leg because of all the track driving. When you're on the gas, it's a very light
But
feel.
you know what? Actually, like the minute you said that, Misha came to mind.
Yeah.
Because he brakes with his left foot, and I found it surprising. A lot of people commented on his videos. Why are you driving with your braking with your left foot? Apparently, it's not common practice.
It should. Well, I mean, in performance driving, it is.
It's common practice.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me nowadays, like even the truck, I'm driving with my left foot on the brake.
Well, because you're used to it, right?
Yeah, but the idea is when you're performance driving, it's being able to balance the car as best as possible. So if you're mid-corner at the limit, you can either choose to, press on the brake a little bit to put more weight on the nose to get more bite from the front, or then start to accelerate, and then even start to overlap. So you can start to build your acceleration even before you finish your deceleration, which is a technique actually that F1 drivers used to do even when they were still manual, when they had the turbo engines, to start spooling the engine before they need it.
But you know why I think a lot of people have that sort of mindset of don't use the brake at the same time as the accelerator? Because beginners, when they're coached to drive, they're always taught to not apply both at the same time, right?
I mean, yeah, but if you're going to go down that road, we could do probably 3 podcasts on the bad habits that we're being told, like braking in a straight line.
Yeah.
But
so
let's go back to the topic.
Let's go back to topic. So I should say to the audience or the viewers as well, Marc-Andre, he's like a performance driving coach as well through Apex V2R. So check him out if you want performance coaching. Reza, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Link below.
But Reza wanted to go on track. I've connected it with Mark.
Yeah, that's right. We did exchange a couple of messages. So at this point, it's just for him to pick a day and
Reza,
we'll push him.
Safe environment. Push your car, man.
Yeah. Reza just sent me a video of him topping out his G3 in Mexico.
How did he get to Mexico?
I don't know.
Oh, he must have done like 200 kilometers an hour.
No, he had it transported there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Drop shipped it.
Nice.
So where's the board? Let's see this.
Okay, so if you had an opportunity to spend your hard-earned money on a sports car, would you go auto or manual?
I would go auto.
Okay. You were depends, but
Well, no, I was manual, but I'm basing that on my lifestyle and what I do.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you would be a manual guy.
Yes.
I would be a manual guy. You would buy an auto because you're going to trash the hell out of the car on track. And
It's still on the road. I still prefer it.
Yeah.
I still prefer my left foot on the brake and yeah.
All right. So moving on to the board, I thought maybe we could take a look at some of the best manual cars and provide your thoughts and opinions on it.
So the GR86 should be in the auto category too.
Why? They're manual. Oh, they have auto.
I've got 3 of them for race cars. Just saying.
No, but so in terms of a brand new car, brand manufacturers that are bringing manuals back into the mainstream,
it's honestly it's the and the affordable sports car option.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Honda Civic of my generation.
Yes.
It's the popular choice. Absolutely.
Well, it was a Corolla GR, just an amazing. I mean, the whole transmission, we were playing with it. It felt really, really good. Anyways, it felt like a GT3.
Is the RX-8 still in production?
Let me get that out of there.
Yeah, I think that's long gone, eh?
I wish they'd bring it back.
I don't know if they need to bring the RX-8 back. They need to bring something
Rotary back.
rotary back that's more special.
Yeah, I think rotary is the problem.
Yes,
that's the problem in the whole equation.
I mean, that's why you got the Mazda Miata as the non-rotary variant.
Yeah.
But I truly hope that Mazda figures out their rotary because I think it's a really good recipe. They just have to.
Well, it's also unique to the like automotive sector, right? Like they're the only ones who had something different and special.
It's a high revving motor,
yeah,
just like the GT3, just like the S2K. What was it like? Almost 9,500 RPM redline.
Was it that high?
Yeah,
on the first gens.
It's crazy.
And then
that's why they blew up. Should have probably made it 8,500.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was really surprising in terms of who was bringing manuals back, obviously Porsche is still keeping it for as long as they can, is Cadillac. Cadillac is coming back with sedans with a manual.
Yes.
The CT5V and the CT4V.
What is it called? The
Blackwing or
Blackwing? Yeah.
I think in any of the variants you can get a manual. That's 650 horsepower.
Yeah. It's an LT9 or LT...
Which actually, funny enough, I almost bought one of those cars years ago.
I remember you.
But I was looking for the opposite option. It was the ATS-V4 or whatever that looked beautiful. Alcantara wheel, track package on it. I was looking for a 4-door car.
I remember that too. It was the white one.
And I wanted something different.
Yeah.
And I was like, just put a dual clutch in it. Put a dual clutch in it, and the automatic transmission obviously wasn't
up to snuff.
No, so but I really wanted that car.
I mean, now if you start looking at all the manufacturers that are coming up with manuals, I don't think manuals are going away anytime soon.
No, actually, you didn't put any of the BMW variants, which are all manual.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which is actually Audi. Does Audi have a manual?
No, Audi.
He didn't even put his new car on there.
I know. He forgot.
Okay, there's M2, there's M3, there's M4, all in manual. But there's rumors that they're no longer going to make them in the next generation.
I mean, that's hard to say at this point because they just came out, right? But like the CSL is only manual.
Wait, CSL manual only?
Oh, sorry, automatic.
Yeah. Because that's a track-focused car.
It is, but they also shifted from a dual clutch to an automatic. Like there's no more dual clutch.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go into the different types of autos as well.
But at least I commend BMW for making those M packages always an option of both.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing I think about with Porsche. PDK is a beautiful transmission, but if you think of the original GT4s, which I think is one of the best cars they have still to today, but that was only available in a manual. You had the GTS that was PDK.
Yeah.
If you wanted the ultimate package, that really everything else on it was geared to the track, it wasn't an option. So I commend them for making that correction, but that was a bit of a weird move for me.
So the GT4, you can now get manual and PDK. There's now the GT4 RS, which is just PDK. Which is track-focused monster.
But you have to remember the GT4, the first variant, came out exactly when the .1 GT3 PDK came out.
Yeah.
I think it was almost a solution to
why the GT3
why the GT3 had no manual.
Yeah.
So people obviously were upset that there was no manual option for a GT3, which is such a motorsport kind of heritage car. So they gave them a GT4 manual, right? So it filled the void at the moment. But I agree. Like they fixed that issue with the 718.
Yeah.
They offered it a PDK, and now you have a choice, right?
Well, what's cool now is I think regardless of what sports car you pick, you can do PDK or auto in any trim levels. Like it's the Carrera T or GT4. Yes. It's a no-cost option.
Yeah.
I think BMW in Europe is making the manual
an optional
extra.
That's it.
So you have to pay like $1,000. I think
even the first year the G80 got released in the UK, there was no manual at all.
Yeah.
You had to buy an automatic.
Is there?
They only had a competition.
But do they have it now?
I'm not sure. I don't think they. I think they still don't have it because they never got a base. So the new M3 came in a manual, but you had to configure it as a base. So you could base build an M3. You could add full leather or carbon ceramic. You can add all the options, but it had to be built on a base model manual rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
The minute you got a competition, it was all-wheel drive and it was automatic.
It's the same here, right?
Same here, but you have the option to spec whatever you want. In Europe, there was no option.
And if I can't remember this correctly, but the M2 might not be manual in Europe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet.
I'll have to fact check that one. So looking back in terms of all the best autos, I mean, yes, I missed out the BMW variants, which are very much so.
Yeah. ZFs also came a long way. The new ZFs are fantastic.
Yeah. So when you compare PDK to autos, the ZF now really shifts as quick and fast as an auto PDK.
I wouldn't say it's as quick, but it's very quick.
So PDK, it's a dual clutch system.
Yeah.
And a lot of manufacturers use the dual clutch. I mean, DSG was supposed to be that as well, right? But it was very clunky.
I didn't have much experience with DSG, to be honest. I know DCT was dual clutch.
Oh, okay. So
from BMW.
That's what I meant, DCT.
Yeah. But DSG was also a dual clutch, was it not? From Volkswagen?
It may have been, but then like some of the earlier BMW models had it as well, I believe, and it was not the same.
Okay.
But the DCT from BMW was to me just as good as the
PDK.
Yeah,
it was great.
At the time. It was great.
So like what's the biggest difference between the two auto transmissions, the dual clutch versus the ZF auto? ZF is like...
Well, ZF is an automatic with a torque converter.
Okay.
It's an automatic. And the PDK is literally a manual with two clutches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, even for our case, I mentioned earlier, we have 3 race cars that are the Scion FRS, and they're all auto. But they have the paddles, and it's not a PDK. There's a delay, but honestly, the delay is very negligible, and it does exactly everything you would need, the rev match and everything, and torque converter transmission.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of the style of driving and what RPMs you shift, where you lose a little bit of power, that type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'd rather have something with a PDK or a DCT, but I think one of the challenges that we still have, maybe now with ZF technology or more future technology, it will become more affordable. But I remember when we picked the Scion FRS as our rental car fleet for our race cars, I wanted something with paddles. Mm-hmm. And then your obvious choices were Audi products, Volkswagen products, Porsche, whatever. But when you're trying to build something affordable and trying to build 3 of them, it starts to get expensive.
Yeah.
And a lot of them heavier car, so more consumables, going to use more brakes, more tires. And that's where we came down and tried the Scion FRS. Very light car, very cheap, very reliable for us. And I remember the first time somebody recommended it, and I called up this lady, and she had a car for sale. I said, come by and I'll give it a test drive. I expected to just be disappointed. And I got in the thing and started shifting. I was like, yeah, this is good. I already knew how great that platform was from driving manual ones before, and it's been great for us. And it's, again, just regular auto torque converter transmission, but with paddles, and it's programmed to try and mimic a PDK.
You saying that kind of triggered something for me as well, and it's a point that you were making before about this aura that people have about people that drive autos
are not manly enough.
Yeah.
You're not a man if you can't drive manual.
I mean, you want to share some of those thoughts that you were
I think it's, let me go back to even another story. I tend to be not a trendsetter, but I tend to pick up on the things that are good for performance driving or racing or whatnot. I mean, I come from a generation where I was a sim racer since Gran Turismo 1, and I still remember going to the tracks in 2007 and telling people you're a sim racer, and all of a sudden you get laughed at, and you're like, this is a joke. Games don't transfer. And then you get on track and you're passing people in 911s with a Civic. Nowadays, sim racing is common. If you're a sim racer, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like this guy's going to be good. And now I feel like I'm reliving that. Being someone that's racing at low level against cars that are, or low levels, I mean, endurance racing for affordable cars, and everybody's still racing the manuals. And here we are showing up with automatic cars. And obviously there's, a lot of, not harassment, but there are people that don't take you seriously. And some of the comments you get can be harsh. I try not to let it get to me, but it's annoying to think that some people still think that way. It's like comparing a flip phone versus a smartphone. If you're talking about performance, a manual just has so many issues, even to the point where if you're racing, I mean, people are human. You miss one shift at a high rev, valve goes, then, engine starts to die. And next thing you know, a couple hours later, then engine goes. You don't get that problem with an automatic. On top of all the performance advantages. So I think it's just at a point where people need to respect everyone for their car choices.
Yeah.
Even going back to when I was into the car scene, I was in the tuner scene, and I used to go to car shows at the back of the Orleans shopping mall where one side was all the muscle cars. The other side was all the imports. And everybody that had imports loved and respected the muscle car era. But all the muscle car guys thought we were idiots.
Yeah.
And I think it's like...
Did you have a neon glow kit or something?
I did not.
Okay.
I did think about it at one point. It was cool, but I held off. Back. And I'm glad I did.
Good mod from last episode, right?
Yeah.
But...
best mods in Ottawa.
Yeah. I think it's... I think that there could be toxicity in the car, in the car, not industry, but the car culture.
Yeah.
And I think that people that hold on to old technology is fine. Respect it, and everybody should respect it. But when something new and better comes along, don't hate it for stupid reasons or because it's, all the other guys are saying you're not a man because you can't drive or you're not driving a manual. Respect it, and I think that's an important message.
Yeah, I mean, it's true because, even like when we go to these car meets and people walking around looking at cars and they go, oh, you've got a nice Porsche 911. And they go in and look at it and go, oh, it's not a manual.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer. And you kind of hear that and you see, I mean, like, okay, look at the car. It's meant for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
And
did you ever see that meme on Instagram that when the guy gets into a car and he gets in, I think he's obviously used to having a manual car, and this is like a rental or something, so he gets in and he's looking for the gear shifter or the clutch. He's like, oh, there's no clutch. He's like, clutch is missing. And then he goes to shift to first and he sees P and R. He's like, ooh. Then he sees the N and the D. He's like, ooh. Little vomit in his mouth. Have you seen that or not?
I have. It's funny.
But that was very stereotypical, right? Of like the automatic transmission.
Yeah.
But again, like we're referring to automatics as like the 3 and 4 speed automatics. And I can tell you right now, if I was forced to drive a 4-speed automatic back like one of those, it would be torture.
Yes.
I don't track whatever. Put me anywhere. Put me in a manual. But now with PDKs and even the awesome ZFs, they're good transmissions. You're not suffering, right?
It's true. One pro I like to add about manuals as well. It's a really good theft deterrent.
Nowadays, yes. Not everybody learns the manual, so no, for sure.
Like the thieves today get into a car and like, bloody hell, there's a clutch. What do I do?
What is this third pedal here?
How do I move it? Can I just push the car?
Yeah.
So that's cool. What would you say is the worst auto you've ever driven?
I mean, there would be so many.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Anything with a CVT.
Oh Jesus, yes. Is that an auto though? What would you? I guess it's an auto, yeah.
Because you
That's
just
like
put it in drive and go.
Yeah.
no gears.
It's
Have
like,
you ever driven a CVT?
A Nissan Maxima.
Okay. Have you ever driven it not normally? Like, have you ever floored a CVT transmission? So there isn't. It just. Yeah, that's what it is. Like Nissan and their CVTs, not only do they always fail and blow up, but like consistent transmission jobs.
Wow, I thought they were supposed to be reliable.
Not at all.
Efficient.
My friend was a technician at Mitsubishi with like all he did was oil changes because nothing went wrong with those cars. And then he went to Nissan and all he did was transmission jobs. But it was when you step on the gas, you hear this consistent whine. There's no gears. It's like whoa.
It's funny because
the car just whines.
That's not true though. It's like if the transmission's slipping, nothing's happening. Oh wait, no, it's designed to be this way.
almost like an electric vehicle, no?
Oh, you're stepping on toes, probably.
That's another topic.
That's another topic.
I remember
the EV simulates sound in the cabin,
and it simulates sound outside too.
They do.
Yeah. Hey, going back to your comment. Hey, people's choices.
No,
People.
I listen. We can get into the topic of EVs or not.
No.
But
we had that debate already.
There's a threshold where he has acceptance.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's.
I see you left the best for last, though.
Yeah. So now imagine if you could combine the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Auto and a manual in one. Mm-hmm. And that's what Koenigsegg has done with their, I think it's the CC850, where it has a manual shifter.
That's right.
And an automatic.
So, hold on, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought this was a manual shifter with no clutch.
No.
I think I saw something. I think it was social media. I saw something, an article or a video, and they were talking about you can choose.
Oh, okay.
Which way you want.
So I think it's one of those directions. If you shift it all the way to the left or the right, and that's an automatic now.
Okay.
And then if you bring it back in, you use the clutch, you start shifting.
So is there still paddle shifters if you put it in the drive, or is it just everything on its own?
I don't see it in this photo, but I remember whatever video I had seen, there was.
There was? Okay.
And they were showing the driver kind of switch between both.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, Mr. JWW?
Yeah.
He drove this and they
did he?
a whole video on that.
He just got a Valkyrie.
Oh, crazy.
Jesus Christ.
How much money is that?
Like
2 or 3 million?
Like 4 kidneys and a couple of lungs.
He's scaled up a kidney and a liver.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I wonder how they do it. So I'm wondering if it's some new technology that's just bringing things to a new evolution, or is it maybe similar to like our Radical, where it's a manual transmission, let's say with a pneumatic transmission and a recluse clutch. Because with the recluse clutch, you can still activate the clutch if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
Could be. But Koenigsegg is always pushing the boundaries of what normal is.
Always. And I think what's the gentleman's name that owns the company?
Christian Vaughn.
Whenever I watch a podcast or an interview or a YouTube clip with him, he's extremely enthusiastic. He has a passion for cars and motorsports. So whenever you see him being questioned about something, he's like 100% in.
Yeah.
You know, and he's innovative. This is a perfect example of innovation, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not many. I think this is the first hypercar that does this.
Yeah. And
it kind of gives you the option of. There's nothing better than that. You want to be in a full auto PDK mode?
Yeah.
You got it. You want to roll gears down, back roads and enjoy going from second to third or third to fourth.
Performance
driving. You got it.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is something like this will never go mainstream.
I don't
know.
I think that might be the next step. Is instead of offering a manual and a PDK, why not just offer this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like remember like the whole Porsche 911 GT3 thing. They didn't have budget to build a manual when they released the 991.1 GT3.
I don't know about that.
No, they what was his name?
I know.
The head of GT.
So I heard the story, but I have a hard time believing Porsche didn't have a budget to build a manual transmission. I don't know.
Because the marketing team pushed against it. They're like, no, we think the market only wants PDK.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if that's a lack of funding.
Yeah, so I think it was more corporate decision than it was actual money to build it.
Oh no, Porsche had the money, but Porsche always allocates certain amount of money to GT department.
And then the rest of the Cayenne.
Yeah. Or the hybridization or
Yeah.
e-fuels or whatever.
Yeah.
But the money that was given to the GT department ran out. They didn't have enough resources to go invest in a manual.
Yeah.
That's when the 911R was the platform to test out the R. In a corporate environment, like a large organization like that, there is so much pushback because the number of people buying manuals, depending on region or whatever, is small. So it's like, how do you justify building 1,000 units to 1 million type thing, you know? And that's always a struggle. And the person that can navigate that corporate politics wins and maintains a manual in a fleet, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, going back, like, this would be phenomenal.
I think so.
To see this in your performance packages, your M Sports with BMW, Porsche keeping this alive with some of their cars. But then again, you could go back to the EV. Supposedly, these last big beasts that we're seeing from Porsche are going to be the last gas powered.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, but I love to see more manufacturers come out with options like this for sure.
I think the Alfa Romeo Giulia also had a manual option that was clutchless. So it wasn't available in North America. I think it was a European only model.
The GTAM? The hardcore version?
No, just the non-hardcore. The Giulia, like
entry level for that.
Not entry level, but what's the performance one?
The Quattrofogo gear.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it had a manual like gearbox where you can go through gears, but there was no clutch.
Interesting.
You didn't have to press a clutch to upshift or downshift.
So now, is that truly a manual?
It's like a hybrid. It's kind of like an automatic almost, right? Because instead of pressing up and down, you're getting the sensation of putting, the gear lever in its position, but you're not depressing I don't know. It's kind of I'm
still gonna live with a skinny leg in that scenario.
It's true. You better start left foot braking.
Just go to the gym.
I'll be at the gym just working
left leg only. Leg press on one leg.
What's going on over here?
Oh man.
There's no real right answer for this, right? Just avoid the Astronic.
Yeah,
and you're good.
Yeah. I wanted to call out the Astronic as being my worst.
Did you ever have an Astronic?
I drove one,
but you never had one.
I didn't. Wait.
So Tarsi had an RS5.
Yes, that's right.
He bought an RS5 Astronic, and he's a manual guy. But I mean, he's got an automatic RS6, and he's had other automatic cars, and he had that RS5 for a short period of time because he couldn't stand the gearbox.
Yeah,
he just said
jerky.
The downshifts were brutal. The delay was insane. Like it wasn't even satisfying, right? Z06, the C7, also huge complaints.
Oh yeah,
yeah, a lot of complaints on that automatic.
So the only thing looking at this board though that I'm reminded of is the same problem that was 4 or 5 years ago when I was looking into getting my race car, I think still exists today. If you start looking on your left end of what is manual, so your Miata, your GR86, your Corolla R, your Civic, even if you consider the Type R, which is an Ultimate Edition, there's still a lack of proper automatic transmissions and more affordable options.
Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
Yeah.
So
the good ones are always in the high-end luxury cars, right?
That sports car, exotic cars, performance cars. I think it's something that would definitely be great to see in some of these options. I mean, when I had my S2000, I mean, I had that thing for a long time, and I put a lot of money. Obviously, it was like a race car that was somewhat street legal and still driving on the road. And I ended up getting rid of it, not because I didn't love the thing anymore. It's still one of my favorite cars. But I just didn't have time. At that point, I had 5 race cars to manage. I'm always driving them on track, taking care of them. But there was one thing. I went to Virginia International Raceway and I saw a bunch of them on track, and I almost had that for the first time since I sold it. I had that feeling I should have kept it. There's a conversion now to put the DCT BMW transmission in it.
No way.
To have tried that car.
And the DCT on track would have been crazy.
I would not have sold it.
Yeah.
I would have been screwed. I would not have sold it.
Speaking of transformations, it's interesting because there's a trend now that's happening, I think, out of California or Miami, where they're converting these new modern autos or dual clutches into automatics. They're taking expensive cars like a Audi R8 V10, the new gen, or
Hold on, they're converting dual clutches to
manuals.
Oh, it's manuals.
Yeah, to manuals.
Okay, so you said auto. Yeah,
said
No,
auto.
sorry. Yeah, to manuals.
I mean, I think that's not surprising, to be honest. I think that's common. I mean, how many people, anybody that I know that's done a conversion of a transmission to go from one way to the other is typically gone from auto to manual. I think we might be the only people that went manual from auto when we built some of the cars. I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Like Royalty Exotics.
Well, they do a few, but there's one that really sticks out is the Ferrari 488 Pista.
Yeah.
When the guy converted
That's
a Pista to a manual.
I think they're tied to Royalty Exotics as well.
I don't know, but that's insane.
Yeah.
That's a high dollar car, and it wasn't done like with an eBay kit. This was like legitimate Ferrari parts, everything, like the brackets, the console.
That was the old school manual, 6-speed manual from what they had in the parts bin, and they're putting that in.
And they had, I'm not sure if it was old school or not, but it was retrofitted to look like and work like an OEM transmission in a Ferrari.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If I had the money, I would take a really nice, I would even take a Ferrari F8.
Yeah.
Put a manual in it.
Yeah, maybe.
These mods,
remember, some cars they drive better as automatics.
I agree. Yeah.
Like the GT3 RS, I think, is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
That car is the PDK just suits that car's character. I don't think it'd be better, even if you were using it on the street. It would be worse with a manual.
Yeah, I mean that's a GT3, no?
Not really. The RS is a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Having had the opportunity to drive one on the road and track for a couple of years, I entirely agree with that.
Yeah. It just, some cars just like an F8, even like let's say a Turbo S. You can't put a manual in the modern day Turbo S. The old one, an old Turbo 997, 996, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
The car became so capable and so advanced and so quick that I don't think you could put a manual in that car anymore. It's just that those days are over.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at this, so if you look at the Ford Mustang, they've done a 10-speed automatic transmission.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I have a lot of respect for the Ford Mustang is, out of all of the Americans bringing back muscle cars and keeping them alive, the Mustang's been the one that's been the best performance on track. They've always kept that in mind.
The GT350
models. And so the automatic they came out with actually shifts pretty well. Overheating issues nonstop, to the point where you cannot track it.
Is that the GT500?
No, just any model. I don't know if the GT.
I think they have a different transmission for the GT500.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know Roti had issues with his transmission when he got his.
Yeah.
It was maybe overheating too.
What was it? The GTR was a similar scenario as well? The dual clutch?
No, I think GTR just felt like a bag of marbles, but I don't think it had issues. I think it was pretty good.
What's that I hear? Oh, bag of marbles. It's okay. Let's move on.
It was very mechanical. Like there was rattles and shakes and like valves opening and stuff.
I say that about my GT3 RS. You sit there and drive it, you hear
a lot of stuff.
Everything.
Yes, and I mean, but I think that's kind of what it's supposed to be. Being in race cars all the time, where there's no sound deadening. I think that's what it's trying to replicate. Like it's trying to give you that feeling of being in a race car.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It's one reason. It's one reason why I love Porsche. It's out of any cars that I've driven, they're the ones that you can grab from the road, go to the track, and you can feel they were built for that.
Oh,
yeah.
I agree with that. Maybe I'm biased, but maybe
a bit.
Yeah, we could maybe wrap up this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap and conclude, I thought it'd be really cool to pick your best auto, best manual of the cars that are here or not on the board. What would you pick as the best manual that you've ever tried or experienced?
I've only driven this car in manual form for about 30 meters, but it was a GT3, a 991.2, and it was great. Felt really nice. It just had a nice feel to it. I can't say how it felt like driving and downshifting and putting it, but just the feel of the
Yeah.
the position of the lever.
It was very direct.
And very direct, very like snappy. Like the confidence was there. Like when you were going to third, you knew you were like in third. You felt it, right? The R8 was actually I drove a V8 R8.
The gated manual?
The gated one.
Oh.
It was great, but it was a bit too light for me.
Oh yeah. The
Like,
clutch was loose a little
The
bit.
clutch was not bad. I had a really high engagement point, but when you went from, I just found like you could hear the notches when you were going into the gates, but you didn't feel like the click.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You felt that in the GT3. You don't feel it in the Audi R8.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about you?
Manual. You know what? I have to be honest. It's been a while since I've driven manual a lot. I'll still do here and there, but to the point where I can remember which one would be better over the other one. I can say that my Honda S2000, having spent so much time on track with it, was just so perfect in so many ways.
Yeah, it was so direct as well.
It was very direct, short throw, but like you can feel that engagement. The clutch wasn't long. It wasn't too stiff or too soft. The pedals were right in the right spot to do heel and toe without having to do anything. So you can even feel like the diff almost like when you shifted that like differential kind of engage all the way back.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that car was just, so special. I mean, thinking about automatics, I have to hand it down to PDK. I mean, the GT3 RS has been great. We've got a Cayman S race car right now, 981, but with the Club Sport transmission in it, 6-speed.
Tuned differently.
It's just amazing. So I would have to say those are my preferred.
We didn't talk about auto for you.
So I'm gonna choose a different kind of auto because obviously, like when I'm driving automatic, I'm driving it to like forget about driving. So I love my X5.
Oh yeah.
It's a ZF, but it's extremely like snappy and responsive. And even if you put it into like a sportier setting, it downshifts when you want it to downshift. It doesn't holds gears longer when it knows you're kind of going through something more technical. It's a great automatic transmission.
Yeah. I have a similar type of answer from a manual. Like no surprise here. I think it's a GT3, the best manual I've ever driven. Just in terms of how it's almost like you had a gated shifter, but it was very direct. It was clunk. You could feel it. You had to really push through it. It's not like I could just take a finger, go move it around. And the clutch engagement, just so intuitive. And I loved how that drove. And I kick myself every time for not buying one and getting into a PDK. But in terms of auto, the best auto I've ever driven, even off of the ZF,
is the PDK.
Is the PDK. Because I have the ZF in the RS5 and the dual clutch in the Audi S4 in the previous gen before I got the RS5. As much as I like the ZF Auto, I still prefer the PDK. It just
the PDK is a true dual clutch, right? Yeah. So it's
Audi had a true dual clutch in the previous gen car. It was not a ZF Auto.
Was that a DSG then? Is that what it was considered?
No.
If anything, I think that Audi actually probably was one of the first ones to have an affordable. Yeah. I mean, I still remember a friend of mine I used to work with that had it was an A3 wagon, but it was a special edition. I think it had the VR6.
Oh yeah, okay.
It had the VR6 with a dual clutch transmission. Actually, that was the first car I've ever driven with a dual clutch transmission.
Yeah, it was a 3.2 A3 with the auto.
And those were pretty good.
It was the first car I drove, and it set me on that way. Yeah. And then the PDK on track was the next one, and then I was just
sold. Yeah, so that's my PDK or my auto choice PDK, and so on. So let's maybe conclude. In terms of what we started off with, where we're asking ourselves manual versus auto, which is better? It really depends, is what we are essentially concluding on here as well, right? From a performance standpoint, you'd say an automatic for the best lap times, maybe not auto, but a PDK, a good PDK, like you were saying.
Proper automatic. Yeah. There's a regular automatic for the road in your Camry or whatever, and then there's a proper sport auto.
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you're looking at canyon carving, back road driving, and you're trying to get engagement at the low end of the car and not getting into trouble on the streets, then a manual is something that you could have engagement from. and get pleasure from
It's
driving.
it depends on you. No one takes a mountain bike on the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just
You can try, but
you can try, but you're not going to get very far.
You're going to get towed eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a flavor for everybody. I hope manuals don't die out. I think there's a long runway before it becomes extinct. There's the whole hashtag on save the manual. So,
and I mean, I'm all for it. I think my last thing to just kind of pitch in there was just be whatever your choice is, it's not wrong depending on your driving.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody needs to respect people's choices.
Yeah.
and you're not less of a driver
Yeah.
or a person.
Yes, you're less of a driver for auto blipping.
There you go.
But if you drive an auto or a manual,
manual.
you're not less of a person or a driver.
No.
Respect.
Yes.
What do you all think as well? Let us know in the comments below. What would you pick, manual or an auto? Can't go wrong. Thank you all for watching. Do all of the stuff like and subscribe. If you enjoy this, share the video as well. We'll see you all in the next one.
Cheers.
Thank you both for.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Let's get a
I'm
refill.
all done here.
Yeah. What kind of guest am I? Like I'm keeping you guys dry.
I know.
Yeah.
See, I should have filled it like halfway because it would have lasted to the end
Well,
of the
next time I'll
podcast.
know. Yeah, this was going good once like the ice started to melt.
I know.
But you have to drive home. Then I will be accountable if you
It's true.
get into trouble.
True, I should drive. Yeah, I have to drive home.
Yeah.
I have to keep